The Rugby World Cup is 2 weeks away, and this weekend we've got a huge assortment of matches for your enjoying pleasure. Today we're going to have a look over those matches, what I think is going to happen, what to look out for, and who I think, of course, is going to win each and every game. So stick around, stay tuned, buckle yourselves in, let's look at some rugby. We got 4 matches coming out of this summer series that the Northern Hemisphere love to cap onto their games, and we've got 4 just stock standard rugby internationals for you to feast your eyes on this weekend. The thing is that really stands out about this weekend is one big game at Twickenham, and it's easy to go, oh, England versus who? Who? No, it's not England versus anyone. It's the All Blacks. It's South Africa, and it's at Twickenham Stadium, and it's not a World Cup game. That's probably our key feature we'll look at for this weekend's fixtures, but of course we've got England taking on Fiji, we've got Scotland and Georgia, we've got Italy versus Japan, Ireland versus Samoa, Portugal versus Australia A, which will be very interesting, Spain versus Argentina, and Chile versus an Argentinian 15. Yeah, Argentina just love these 15 teams, so let's kick it off and take a look at what I think is going to be the big key matchup in this opening weekend. That'll be the All Blacks versus the Springboks, and that is coming at a very earlier time as well to what we're normally used to. This is on a Saturday morning, New Zealand time, a Friday evening over in Twickenham in England. So this is going to be a kickstart to our rugby weekend's action. And what a kickstart it is as well. 2 Rugby World Cup heavyweights going head to head. And we've already got the teams. South Africa is a god when it comes to putting out their teams nice and early. It was out on Monday. Almost a week earlier than the game. The All Blacks have just named their team today on Thursday. So they are clearly 4 days later, 3 days in between, which is just absurd. But we've seen the teams, and let's be honest, without diving too deep into the actual 15s, both sides are going pretty much all out. There's not much going on barring injuries to the likes of Shannon Frizzell that has seen Luke Jacobson come into his number 6 jersey for the All Blacks. Other than that, it's pretty much full strength looking through the team. The back three is interesting. Not really the back three of the third one, but the 2 outside ones. Mark Talia on the left side, I think that is a really high battle area for the All Blacks at the moment, with Lester Whaganuku coming back. Of course, you've got Caleb Clark, who everyone loves to hate, and I started that, so come on, everyone, give some credit for that one. And of course, you got the man who's starting today, Mark Talia, as well. So he gets the nod, Mark Talia, for this weekend against the Springboks. He needs a big performance, though, to make sure that spot stays his own. Will Jordan, of course, on the other side. The All Blacks are very gifted in the second row to be able to move out Brodie Retallick and bring in Whitelock and Barrett together and not really lose anything in that area, but it looks like a very strong side. Question marks over there. Dane Coles is really your number 1 hooker as he starts this weekend, but 3 very good, very close together hookers as well. The big problem I've got with this for the All Blacks side of things is the fact that you're getting a very, very high risk of injury against a very physical, very big, and very good South African team. I'm looking at a number of jerseys, which I'll go through. We're 1 and 3. De Groot and Lomax are playing on the loose head and tight head side of that front row. I think are becoming very, very critical parts of this All Blacks side. The back row, 7 and 8. So Sam Cane, for all the hate he gets and all the dislike from the old couch potatoes like us, he is an integral part to this team, and I think that the actual squad doesn't have enough depth in his number 7 position. You've got Dalton Papali'i there, of course, one man that can really cover. Ardie Savea, I guess, if you really stretch, but you're moving a lot of pieces of the chessboard around to accommodate one man if he was to get injured. Now, moving on, Ardie Savea, he's another one. He's played so many games at 8 this season, every game at 8 this season. So you're pretty much bringing in a fresh man to that number 8 jersey if something were to happen to him. But let's be honest, and touch wood, he's a very hardy player and he very rarely gets too injured. So fingers crossed that does not happen as well. Aaron Smith, 9, and of course Richie Mo'unga at 10. 2 key areas I don't think the All Blacks can afford to have an injury in either, especially when you got only Finney Christie and Cam Roigard. As much as I like the fact that Roigard is in here, he's on the bench for this game, and I like him in the squad, I just feel that backup position is down on the Cam Roigard level. So you've got Aaron Smith up the top, and then you're dropping down to a youngster with a huge ceiling in Roigard that can do a lot of good stuff, and I'm glad he's here. But Finney Christie's not much more above him, and when you're going to select over those two, you've got a 50-50 of a brand new guy with a huge ceiling versus an experienced player that's not really that good. I feel that position is weak in the All Blacks if Aaron Smith was to go. Of course, Richie Mo'unga is a big one as well, with only Damien McKenzie in behind him, and of course Beauden Barrett at a stretch. But again, much like that back row, you lose a Mo'unga, you're moving a lot of chess pieces around with Beauden Barrett possibly coming in and McKenzie to a fullback position. So you've got to be careful there. I do think the midfield is somewhere that they've invested so much with. If they lost one or both of those two guys, although the backup support is definitely there, I think they've put so much into those two, it'll massively hamper the All Blacks game plan. So a lot of risks going into this game for the All Blacks, that is for sure. And I don't think we can really say the same for the Springboks, although they are already hampered by a number of injuries to key players, and they've got guys coming back as well. So not only are they risking, they're also bringing guys back up to speed. I'm talking about guys like Kolisi coming back in, played that impressive little stanza against Wales last weekend. If they can build on him, keep him fresh, keep him fit, that is great for them, but as always, a bit of a risk for a player coming back from injury. Of course, it's the same there for them. They've got 4 scrum halves in their squad, and I think they've got pretty good scrum halves. Faf definitely is that step above, but I think they've got a lot of young, good talent that's not too far behind them, and they've got the experience as well of a guy like Reinach in that squad. But it's the 10. You've got Manie Libbok there, and you're also playing Damien Willemse at fullback. So your 2 number 10s are playing 10 and 15 in this game, in this build-up game for a World Cup. There are only 2 guys that can play that spot. Yes, okay, Faf can play there. We know that's their plan. But honestly, if it gets that situation, they've got problems. And I think the next man that gets injured is being replaced by Handré Pollard. Let's be honest, that's going to happen for the World Cup. I am looking too far forward here, not really looking at this matchup, but that's the risks that I see going in this game. As far as the contest goes, this is full strength versus full strength. I think South Africa's a better team now than when the All Blacks faced them, was it 4 or 5 weeks ago, and blitzed them in that opening 20 minutes. This is going to be another blockbuster arm wrestle game. We're going to see a lot of forward-dominated plays by both teams, because I think going into this, and the 6-2 benches as well implies that they're going to play this way. This is going to be a game where I think the All Blacks want to test themselves and test their pack and see what sort of condition and level they're up to against what would arguably be one of the best packs in World Rugby in South Africa. So that's where they're going to look to go, and I think that is an indicator by that bench as well. The backs will just do what the backs do. Given opportunities, given chances, expect them to flourish and shine. But it's all going to come down to how that forward pack really gets down to their work. The Springboks, we know what they bring. And they're bringing a very, very good side. I am a bit interested, though, they have gone with that midfield. I can understand the Moody thing with the injuries into that midfield, losing Lacanio Arm, and then bringing Canan Moody on in that game where Arm got injured, and then seeing, actually, he played quite well there. They're testing that again. Good. Nice. I like it. Keep that up. He could be a big answer for you in an attacking way. Not so much a brick wall of a Delendi, a Creel, or a Esterhazen, who is playing today. Esterhazen takes number 12 jumper inside Canan Moody. But wouldn't you like to pair him with the possibility or the chance that he's going to be playing with the Delendi or a Creel, potentially in that inside? Probably Delendi would be the man, you'd say, if there was a first choice and you're going for a good 13 and you're going to go with Moody, he's going to be playing with Delendi. So that kind of confuses a little bit about how they're going about that sort of stuff, but it's a good game time for Esterhazen, who needs it as well. So possibly an area where the Springboks aren't going full strength. The back 3 looks strong though. Mapimpi, Arendse and Willemse at fullback. I do think Willemse is much more suited to the 15 jersey. Yes, Willie Leroux's been there all season long and he's been very good, scoring and assisting tries. He does look likely in his place there, but it's good to see Willemse get a chance. I think domestically, he's played there very, very well throughout the last season or two. The pack looks strong. It's great to see Mostert moving back to that second row again, seeing if he will just add a bit more of that back row mongrel into that team. It's a good front row. Kitshoff, Marks, Mahol, but you can't really complain about that pack. It really does look like it is up to the task, and it's going to test the All Blacks massively going into this game. But of course, the back line has to fire as well. But maybe with that Esterhazen choice, they've gone for a solid defender with a bit of excitement outside of him. Expect to see a lot of ball in the hands of Canan Moody straight off the hands of Manie Libbok. So you've essentially almost got a back 4, don't you? If you got those 2 wingers, your fullback and Moody in midfield, they look very, very dangerous. Both sides, like I said earlier, going for big forward-heavy bench, a 6-2 split. So I expect to see those guys coming on and playing, I'd say, a good half a game. Like the Springboks like to do, they bring that squad in with a good portion of the second half to go. I think the All Blacks will try to replicate that, probably try and match that Springbok game, see how they go. I'm curious to see how they're going to play as well for the All Blacks against the Springboks, whether we're going to see any sort of that kicking game that we saw against the Wallabies that was direly bad, or are we going to see that much more typical, what we've seen this year, the high balls, the contestable kicks, and the tactical kicking that is very much a contestable area of the game. South Africa, on the other hand, they do much the same, and I expect to see things out of Faf de Klerk this week that will go a long way to seeing how this team will perform at the Rugby World Cup. Very good teams, both of these sides very, very good. How much we're going to see of them that will translate to the World Cup, though, will be interesting. I do not expect to see a full hand of cards played. And would any side of this sort of area consider a loss here a bad thing? We talked about when the Springboks come to New Zealand and they lost. Is it a bad thing for South Africa? No, they weren't too fast. They had a big squad. They changed a lot from week to week, and they kind of just flowed with the punches. It wasn't a huge big loss to them. They would have loved to win, of course, as everyone would. But who going into this game would you guys think is at the bigger risk of losing this game? I think the biggest risk is losing players. But losing this game, who is it going to affect more going into Rugby World Cup? The All Blacks, well, they've been very good this season. They've won every game against every opposition they've come up against. And now going to the World Cup, they've got South Africa this weekend. In 2 weekends' time, they've got game 1 against France. So that is going to be the test. How much is it going to affect losing this game before going into the World Cup? Of course, the Springboks, they've been up and down. They're just that one loss to the All Blacks, of course, throughout the Rugby Championship. But they've looked very, very good, demolishing Wales last weekend. I think they're in a good place. I think, again, if the Springboks lose, they won't be too perturbed. I think they've got the mental strength, the mental ability to deal with that because they've done it before and they'll do it again. They're a team, they know they can lose in the World Cup and they can still win the trophy. They are the one and only team to have done that so far. So, Springboks can deal with it. The All Blacks, a player injury, a loss, how's that going to affect their mental aspect of the game? It's something we've not seen from them very much this year at all. So that is something to keep in mind. Who really wants to win this game more? I'm picking the All Blacks to win it. Maybe a bit more head or heart over head on that one, but I think it's going to be a good cracking game. I think both teams look very, very good. I do expect it to be tight. I really don't hope this is a blowout either way because that does no favours for the game of rugby whatsoever. Building into the World Cup, this is almost your marquee sort of matchup to advertise the game in a neutral stadium. 2 of the best teams in the world. Outside of the area of the stadium as well, it is sure to put people's interest in the Rugby World Cup, which to be fair is just a train ride over into France, isn't it? So if it's good, people might just make that trip over and see some games in France. Let's hope that is the case. We get packed out houses throughout the French regions as well. But we'll go early and we'll go for the All Blacks picking up a 4-point win over the Springboks. Right, moving on and moving our way into now these Summer Series matches or Summer Nations Series matches. We've got 4 coming in here featuring all the Northern Hemisphere teams. England, Scotland, Italy and Ireland going up against Fiji, Georgia, Japan and Samoa. Did that confuse you? Good, because we'll break it down a little bit more as we go on. First up, we've got England versus Fiji. This is an intriguing game. All for reasons that aren't the actual matchup here. Fiji probably will be disappointed in how they performed result-wise against the French. I think they showed glimpses of brilliance, but I think they would have liked to have kept that game a little bit tighter than the 34-17 scoreline suggested that game was. But they did show their ability to score. They showed their ability to get around the park and to do dangerous things like we expect. But their defensive effort, probably not good enough. I think they've got more chance to cause trouble here against this English side, who, well, they're getting in some hot water, aren't they? Of course, they've got no Owen Farrell now. He's missing this game plus the first 2 of the actual Rugby World Cup. Now, Billy Vunipoola's been suspended for 3 weeks as well. So he's missing this one and a couple of the World Cup, but unless he goes to tackle school. And, I mean, isn't tackle school a joke? It is an absolute joke. But alas, if he goes to that, he'll only miss 1 game of the World Cup, so 2 matches in total. England will go into this game, and I think they'll win this game, but I don't think it's going to be convincing, or I don't think it's going to be dominating either. They're a team that's beating themselves up more than other teams are beating them up. What happens after or during the game is affecting them more of the result than actually happened at the game. So they've got a lot of things going on, not only off the field, but on-field things that affect off the field as well. So they go into this going, how many players are we going to lose here? Are we going to have another player suspended? There's been 2 in 2 weeks. Are they going to go for the triple header here? It's just a mental aspect of the game going into a Fijian side that can be, well, they can be really frustrating too, because they like to have fun, and they will be a team that won't give in. They won't submit to the English game. They will just go out there and they will just play their game no matter whether they're down by 1 point or they're down by 100 points. They're going to go out there and they're going to give it a jam. And that is kind of the opponent, I think, that's going to frustrate England, because they want to assert dominance. And I just don't think their team is good enough to do that over most of the bigger sides. I mean, if they're coming up against a Chile or something, sure, they're going to do that with ease. But I think with the way that these Pacific Island nation sides have come on recently, they just don't care about those big boys anymore, because most of their squad now, at least some of their squad, have played with the big boys, and they know how the big boys work, and they know not to be intimidated by them. So I think England's going to win this one. I want it to be close. Again, much like last week against France, I want it to be close. I want Fiji to challenge. I want Fiji to get out there, score some points. I want this game to be a 45-38. You know, something along those lines. Yeah, England can win. Okay, you can have it, England. I don't really care. I want Fiji to score points. I want them to go out there, and I want them to just score points. Yes, the defence isn't great. Don't worry about the defence. Just score points. Trouble teams with your ability to score more than them. Force teams into attacking rugby. I don't want to see Fiji lose this one 10-3. I don't want to see that at all. I don't want to see England just grind it down to a boring game that they want to play. I want this to be a big one. I want this to be England going, crap, we've got to score tries, because Fiji are just going to keep scoring tries themselves. Get that attacking ability going, and hopefully we can have some fun with it. I think England's going to win. I'll give them a win by 6 or 7 points here over the Fijians, but that's what I want to happen. And I think it's possible as well. I think Fiji certainly are a team good enough. And again, it's another big indicator to how the Rugby World Cup will go, with Fiji having big games where they could potentially upset the top seeds in their pool. Moving on to the second game of the Rugby Summer Nations Series. Rugby World Cup build-up. Come on, team, let's be fair. It's the third game we've looked at already here today. Scotland versus Georgia. This is a good game. This is, again, much like Fiji, I want to see what the Georgians can do. Now, we've not seen much of Georgia against the top 10 nation. Yes, they pummeled USA last weekend, 22-7. They destroyed Romania, 56-6. And I think they've been in action before that as well in previous months. But this here is a big battle against a very surprising Scottish team as well. If you had given me this game 4 years ago, I would have said, yeah, Georgia are a real good chance here. I can't wait to see this. But I think Scotland really are up the goods here. The Georgians, though, will want to get that dominance, and where they're good, the set piece, the structure, and of course that forward pack. They can really do some damage there, but they are also getting a rounded game as well. I think Scotland will beat them overall. I think Scotland's quite a very tidy little team now. They may be putting me too much confidence in them at the moment, but I think they're going to look really, really nice. And I think the Georgians will probably ground this game down for the opening 40 minutes. I think we'll see it open up in the second 40, and Scotland will start to get away with things that they want. But I'm really excited to see how Georgia are going to play against the Tier 1 nation. Do they have the ability to do the job? Yeah, 100% they've got the ability to do the job. Can they do the job this weekend? I don't think so. I think Scotland will be too good, and I'm really liking the way the Scottish team is playing. I'm really liking the continuity around the Scottish team as well, the consistency, the squad working together in effect. So we did see some subtle changes week on week over the last couple of weeks from them, yet they still seem to well establish and consistently be able to effectively work the game plan despite those changes throughout their squad, which is always promising, because you always normally see, especially with teams like Scotland, Italy, stuff like that, when you get those 3-4 player changes in a squad from week to week, just the breakdown of how the machine runs. Something that Scotland's really picked up, I think, is that, and we see consistently the game plan is working no matter who is on the paddock. They've got a hard-working pack, which I think is light and mobile, but it is exactly that too. It's like the Australian one of a few years ago, where they had a very fast and mobile pack, especially the back row, got around the field very well. Sure, it doesn't work so well if they'll come against a big pack like the Springboks, but still, they can nudge around the park, and they can wear their opponents out, which is what they're going to get here from the Georgians. I expect Scotland to win this one. I expect it to be quite easy and nice in the end. I'm going for about 16 points for a Scottish victory over Georgia, but I do want to see and I would like to see it be closer, and a Georgian team come very close. If not, do the job against Scotland. The third match in this series, and this is equally as intriguing, Italy versus Japan. Now, I looked at this before and I went, yeah, Italy will win that quite easily. And I thought about it, and I was like, will they win this game quite easily? Because Japan are not that pushover, crappy team like a decade ago. Sure, they've not had a great build-up, and I think that's what's going to discount them heading into this game, because their team has not been great in the head-up to this World Cup. I think the Italians are tracking nicely, as they should be, but this is two very similar teams in their place in the world. The Italians probably consider themselves a bit more established, a bit more up that leaderboard, but still, I think Japan can really come out and put up a good match, a good game plan, and actually put something up here over the Italians. And what makes it even more intriguing too is when you look at the rankings, these two sides are 13th Italy and 14th Japan. So this really is one for the taking. Just something in my mind speaks that Italy should be the comfortable victor here and get the win over the Japanese, but I just don't know where those Japanese are going at the moment. Again, poor in the build-up to this game. Their team just doesn't seem to be at that same level, but I expect when they get to the World Cup, things may start to work together for them. I'm expecting this one to be quite an intriguing battle. The Italians, I think, will win it, though, just because I think they're just that little bit better in an overall side. Their build-up's been stronger. They've been playing stronger teams as well, so they should be a bit more conditioned, a bit more ready, and are playing at a bit more higher level than the Japanese are. But this is a game that we rarely see, because this is a game that Japanese will look at, and they'll look at it a similar stat to their pool, where games they should be winning against teams they should be pushing up against. This is one they need to win. I think Italy's going to win it. I really want this to be close, because if the Japanese can pull it off, we are in for a very, very interesting Rugby World Cup yet again, because it means the Japanese are slowly lifting their game. Italy, though, to win it by 2. Yeah, I'm going that close, because that is rather exciting. Last game of the Summer Nations series, Ireland back in action again, up against Samoa. So, unfortunately for this, Samoa... Oh, geez. Now, they've struggled during the Pacific Nations series. They had that game against the Barbarians last weekend, which was really... Well, we spoke about it, didn't we? And we said it's just not the game that's going to learn or teach you anything about the Samoan side. And it really wasn't. They won 28-14, 4 tries to 2. I mean, it's rugby challenge numbers, isn't it? Just scoring tries, and that's the only way you get points. But I just don't think that, aside from match fitness and match continuity, which is what they need, it didn't tell us anything about how good this team is. I think they're going to struggle against Ireland. Ireland look fantastic. England, no chance against Ireland last week. They were just far too good. 29-10, it was a demolition job. They wiped out the Italians with their B team a couple of weeks before that. They look good. As we expect. I mean, let's be honest, they are one of the top 4 sides front-running for the World Cup. New Zealand, South Africa from the south, I think, and Ireland and France from the north. They're the 4 teams to look out for, and I think Ireland are going to do this one quite easily over Samoa. Depending on what side they pick, I've not seen the squad as I record this, so they could potentially pick a weaker side, but I don't think that'll matter. I think they're good enough to take out the Samoan side, who just need more time. They need this game, though, and they need to be able to get more time on the field, get that to the World Cup another couple of weeks, and boy oh boy, I just hope that they can get it together by then. If they do some things well here, that is great. That does excite me very much, because I believe the Samoan team has a potential to be really good, but I just don't think they've got the time to do it before the Rugby World Cup. I think Ireland are going to win this one quite comfortably, 22 points. I think it's going to be a good win, much like we saw from that Irish side versus England, possibly even worse. But we will get to gauge just how far away Samoa are from those top-tier nations at the Rugby World Cup. Now, we've got 3 quick games to go through for just the regular test matches, and they're not big games. Portugal versus Australia, so we're getting one World Cup team versus non-World Cup team. You've got Spain versus Argentina, again, non-World Cup team versus World Cup team, and then Chile versus Argentina in 15. Why do they have so many teams? I don't even know, but there you go. South American rugby, it's getting out, and it's a good experience for Chile. Whether they can win that one would be the question, though. But we'll look at starting Sunday's games here, or Sunday morning, Saturday night, depending on your part of the world here. Portugal versus Australia A. Now, remember this Australia A side lost to Tonga 5 or 6 weeks ago, where the World Cup really got building up. So this Australian A side team, although has been all plucked to pick this game, and is a very nice looking team as well, I think will be far too good for Portugal. But I think Portugal could show the world a little bit about what they can do here. A side that we saw when they played earlier actually know how to attack. I'm trying to see how long ago it was they played. Yes, USA they played 2 weekends ago, 46-20. They know how to score tries, and the USA team, let's be honest, isn't a terrible, terrible side. Over the last few weeks, they've had some interesting games. They demolished Romania, so they're definitely World Cup calibre. The problem is they just didn't qualify for that Rugby World Cup this year. Of course, they got wiped out by Portugal and they got wiped out by Georgia as well. But the Portuguese actually did it, well, kind of easier than the Georgians, which, does that give you an indication as to where this Portuguese side is? I think that's a bit of a false read. I think that's a touch of a false read, but gives good hope, I should say. Not false hope, but good potential hope to what this Portuguese side can do. They can score points. And much like we talked about with Fiji, going out there and scoring points and forcing your opposition to actually play rugby and actually have to run the ball. Australia A will be going into this with big heads. They'll be going in this going, we're going to squish these mugs. We're not even good enough for the World Cup team. Yeah, we're going to pummel this team that is going to the World Cup. Mark your words. I think Portugal are going to give them a little hurry up. I think the Australia A team will win in the end. But this Portuguese side, I think is going to be better than a lot of people are expecting. Are they going to take out the world and qualify for the playoffs or anything silly like that? No, but I think they're going to challenge teams for good portions of matches. We'll see how their fitness stands up. Remember, these Tier 2 sides now have that long break between games. They're not getting shafted by 3-day turnarounds anymore. So now they've got a chance to rest, a chance to plan and prepare. And that is the most dangerous thing of all for the rest of the nations. Australia ready to do it. I think they'll do it comfortably enough. We'll give them about 14 points, a couple of tries, but I think this is going to be high scoring, and I want it to be high scoring. Again, like Fiji, I want Portugal to play some rugby. Spain versus Argentina, you put 50 on this one. If the Pumas go all out here, this is going to be a bit of an ugly game here. It's bizarre they've gone with a bit of a weaker opponent as their final preparation game, but like we talked about earlier, and I've talked about other people in the build-up to this Rugby World Cup, the South Africa-New Zealand game is sort of a bit surprising as well because they're going with such a hard battle 2 weeks out from the World Cup with potential injuries and potential issues and problems like that. That is a bit more of a question. Maybe the All Blacks and the Springboks should have gone with the likes of a Chile or a Portugal or Uruguay or something like that to build this game. Sure, in the end it comes down to money. That's what you've got to think about, and that's what I don't look at completely. I look at this from a match perspective. Someone's looking at this and going, ching, 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 cash in the bank. Give me a share of that, you greedy pricks. But that's what this is all about. It's all about money, which is why it kind of surprised me that they went all out for this game. Although, is that promoters going, you've got to play your best team because money, we want to come back, put on a good show, play your best players. Who's that going to kick in the nuts at Rugby World Cup time? But back to Spain and Argentina. I think this is going to be a demo job. The Spanish, we'll see what they offer. We'll see what they offer. There again, down for the Portugal sort of frame. And I don't think they'll trouble these Pumas who are looking far too good for this World Cup. Chile, Argentinian 15, much the same story. I expect this Argentinian 15 to do the job. They've looked quite impressive, actually, throughout their build-up. Uruguay beat them by 20 points last weekend, but that is a very good Uruguayan side. Are they up to the Chilean standard of that Uruguay side? I don't think so. I expect it to be a bit closer than that game. I do expect the Argentinian 15 to grab the win, but again, it comes down to the commitment and what these players actually want out of this game. The squad not going to the World Cup, but you'd imagine these guys should be the next ones off the rank, again, depending who's selected for the game. It's a hard one to read. It's a bit like the Barbarians. You don't know who's playing, you don't know what they're playing for, and you don't know what sort of game they're going to play. But given the calibre of player, I should expect that the Argentinian 15 should, the depth of Argentina should be good enough to do the job against Chile. For the Chileans, though, they could do something well here. Underestimate them in your peril, much like these minnow sides. This isn't your top Argentina side. This is probably not your next tier off there as well, because they'll be with Argentina in their 30-man squad. So you got 2 15s away already with Argentina. This is 3, 4, 5 down the track of players in the region. So yes, Argentina's got very good rugby depth. We know about it. But Spain is one of those emerging nations alongside Portugal. I should say Chile alongside the likes of Spain and Portugal are emerging nations throughout the European and South American regions. So this will get to see what this Chilean side are all about. We did see them go down by 2 points to Namibia 2 weekends ago, and the Namibian side hasn't been going that badly either. They lost by 8 points to Uruguay, who in turn went on, of course, and they defeated the Argentinian 15. So that gives you a little bit of a degrees of separation when you've got the fact that 2 points between Chile and Namibia, 8 points between Namibia and Uruguay, and then, 20 points between Uruguay and the Argentinian 15. And it probably won't even be the same squad. So it throws everything completely out the window. Focus on Chile, focus on what they do, focus on how Chile play, and see what you guys think about their chances at the World Cup. But I do think the Argentinian 15 will get the win. I would love Chile to pick up the win, so I'm only going to go by 8 points to the Argentina 15 side. That's it. That's our 8 games. Far too long as per usual. Talked too long about the first game, but that is your marquee matchup for the weekend. It was a shame we didn't have any other big games. If we could have had, Ireland and Scotland maybe clashing yet again, would have been interesting to see what those two sides are up to. But we're getting a good picture now of how the World Cup looks heading into the opening weekend of the tournament. Just 2 weeks to go. Wow. 14 days, team. It's going to be amazing. I hope you enjoyed this little brief look at the teams and the games this weekend. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comment section below as per always. And enjoy your rugby this weekend. I'll be around featuring some little hits and little cheap shots at players and referees as we always do. So if you want to come and join into the socials and have a chat, you can do that. We are also streaming on YouTube and Twitch 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So come and join us there. Generally between 9 and 10 a.m. at New Zealand time, we will be starting out there. So come and hang out. Come and say hi and have a chat with the cool crew that we've got there that come each and every time and have a good hangout playing some rugby games, some old school games, playing some league. We're playing everything on there. Just jamming out, talking rugby and having some fun. So if you do like to hang out, come by, say hi, give it a follow and a subscribe, and we'll see you there. But until then, thanks for watching as always, and take care. Enjoy the rugby as well.